Hello, everybody, and welcome to the GT4 Madness at Bathurst. I'm your commentator for tonight, Carl Lawrence. Joining me in my commentary booth is Connall Courtney. Connall, how are you doing today, man?
I'm very excited for this. I can't wait. We've got a mix of GT4. If you've seen any GT4 racing in this game so far, if you've seen a SimGrid GT4 race, you'll know the madness that'll ensue. Add in Bathurst into the mix. Yeah, we're going to have a crazy one. As we can see now, everyone diving out of pit lane.
Yeah, starting qualifying now. It's a 15-minute qualifying, and then we're going to go into a 1-hour race here at Bathurst. I think it's 6:17 a.m. in the virtual world at the moment. Track temperature of 18 degrees. Track is fast at the moment. But you were talking about A, it's a SimGrid race. We know how close SimGrid races are. B, it's a SimGrid GT4 race. We know how crazy that is. And C, I've luckily taken a Xanax before this race starts, so my heartbeat can be stayed down at a certain level. Because it was absolutely insane the last time. I think both of us lost our voices.
Yeah, pretty close. I mean, we had two fantastic races. One at Mazzano and one at the Hungaroring. We had four guys battling for the lead for most of the race. We had incidents lower, and it was just, as you said, it was really fitting name today for the races tonight. GT4 Madness at Bathurst.
Yeah, I think after watching the last GT4 races we've had on Bathurst, if you haven't had your GT4 fix yet, it is available in the DLC on Steam. But, another interesting thing is the Coach Dave Academy guys have been working quite hard on these GT4s. They've got a setup out for the Porsche at the moment. They've yet to get anything else, but I know that they are working on a BMW currently. So soon there will be setups available for these cars from the Coach Dave Academy. But, Connall, we know some information from free practice, and it looks like if you ain't in a Merc, you ain't in the front.
Yeah, it seems that way. We had 7 of the top 8 drivers were all in Mercedes. So, of course, free practice is a different story to qualifying a different story to the race, but early signs are indicating that the Merc is strong here.
Yeah, Wolf Matushka was the quickest out there in free practice in his bright pink BWT livery, the BW-inspired livery. I think his co-driver and his team has some association with BWT, or he works for the company. So he's always running the BWT-inspired livery as we look at an absolute mess through that. There it is. There's the bright pink. You can't miss that anyway, can you?
No, you're not going to miss that no matter if it's 6 a.m. or 2 a.m. in the morning. But yeah, you wouldn't need floodlights to see that, would you, Kev?
No, not at all. I mean, he doesn't even have to switch the headlights on at the moment. Apparently, the pink is showing him around the circuit. On board now with Axel Petit, a SRO driver, and someone that's going to be joining an interesting, quite a fabulous idea, I think, from the SimGrid and the guys behind the SimGrid is a more females racing event that they're going to be holding soon. We'll give you some more information on that at the end of qualifying as he runs wide there. But one of the co-drivers there is Axel Petit, but obviously we'll have a bit more of a chat about that towards the end of qualifying as we have a look at them starting their first flying laps. Some big names here as well. We've got Nicholas van der Kokalt, also one of the co-drivers that will be joining in that series, but he didn't seem too fast in free practice.
Yeah, interesting. But as we all know, you could be running the race setup, qualifying setup, but 3 seconds off, that is a significant gap no matter if you're running the full tank or qualifying run. So a big gap for Van der Kokalt. I don't know what exactly the problem was, if there was a problem indeed, but we will soon find out his true pace as this qualifying session kicks off.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they can bang out here lap time wise, especially at this time of the day. I mean, 19 degrees centigrade. It's not the hottest the circuit could ever be, but it's not a bad track temperature. This circuit is incredibly difficult. We do know that. And quite interesting enough, though, if you bang walls here, it does give you a track violation as well. So running slightly wide and clipping a wall could invalidate your lap, as Nyring will be the first of our drivers across the line. The Porsche has been relatively quick in GT4 as well as it is in GT3, but not my pick a car to drive, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, we've seen the Porsche competing for the races. The 2 races that SimGrid have done so far in GT4 have been relatively at the sharp end. Oh, Klaus gets it sideways to Dean. Was almost into the tire wall there. But the Porsche, I found myself, again, I'm not one of the quick guys, so I'm totally speaking for myself, find it a little difficult to drive. But again, this is the joy of GT style racing, is that it's not going to come down to which is the best car at every track. There's not one great car everywhere. it really does come down to how you, with your driving style, maximizes the car's potential.
2 minutes 13 across the line. There was the first final lap. We usually jump back to Sami Katula in 22nd in the AMG, the baby AMG. We say baby AMG, but it's probably one of the bigger GT4s out there at the moment. It'll be interesting to see what this first of the Mercs to cross the line. I think Connall will actually be the first of the Mercs. But you are correct in saying the Porsche very, very quick at, I think it was Mazzano in the hands of James Parker. But we heard in the interviews from a lot of the drivers, James Parker pretty much anything is quite quick. So not a reflection of the car, just a reflection of the driver and what he's comfortable with. But these GT cars, there are some that are better at some circuits and others that are better at others. So they're quite evenly matched throughout a championship of variable circuits. As Katula crossed the line, 1 second off that of Montalbano, a name I haven't seen before. But as it stands at the moment, the top 5 are all Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah, no surprise if we have gone back to free practice. We'll have seen, as I said earlier, 7 of the top 8, and now it's 6 of the top 7. So very interesting to see this Merc dominance. Surprising. We thought it was going to be very, very mixed in terms of the top end of the field, but we only have 17 people that have crossed the line, 18 now. So we'll see as we see a BMW going up to 6. We know the top end. As we see the poleman, the provisional poleman smashing into the wall, that'll be the lap invalidated. If not, it's going to be about 3 seconds off, so it's going to be rendered pointless anyway.
So a bit of news there from Michael. He's always a wealth of information, this man. I don't know where he gets his information, but it's always great information. Vincent Urbich is going to be running a 1-hour event here at GT4 in a McLaren, which is apparently not very good in his tires. So it'll be interesting to see for reviewers that do drive the McLaren and GT4, and for myself, to see what happens with these tires over a 1-hour race.
Yeah, let us know in chat, of course, if you have any experience with the McLaren and GT4. It'll be interesting to see. I myself have not driven the McLaren yet, so Vincent is the test dummy for me, as well as you, Kyle. We will get to learn some things possibly from Vincent's race here today.
I'm still blown away by how close these guys can run together. I mean, on a circuit like Bathurst, yes, okay, there's still 5 seconds separating the top 21, but that we know that's going to change going forward. This is some good. We're going to see stupid times very close together. But on a circuit like this, to see them run that close is absolutely insane. As Wolf Matuszka has done his first flying lap, he is 0.8 off pole, but we are on board with him for a reason. It's probably because he's on another fly.
Yeah, we have 19 degrees track temperature, so it's good in terms of cool. That'll be good for the horsepower. Track grip though, only on fast, not optimum, and yet we are already into the 211s. And Wolf Matuszka himself, he also goes into the 211. So we have 2 drivers already, 7 minutes to go in qualifying, into the 211s. That's scary fast, folks.
Yeah, and they're starting their nonsense again in GT4, because as they start their nonsense, 0.087 separates pole to second. So the nonsense of GT4 madness is continuing, and we're probably going to see 3 or 4 drivers within 0.1 or 0.2 again up at the top, as we become accustomed to here in the sim grid, especially in split 1. But as I've heard from a couple of South African drivers I raced with on Monday that have done a few sim grid races, split 3, split 4, and split 5 aren't much different.
Yeah, it's if you've watched any footage of any of the other split races that we have seen internally, you've seen the type of close racing all throughout the field. I also have friends that have competed in multiple splits, and it's basically what you see here is what you see in the lower splits as well. It really does lend itself, both this game and this organization really does lend itself to close racing, and there's no better way to improve both your racecraft and your overall driving than to be in a battle with people and learn from these people.
Yeah, it's absolutely phenomenal, some of the battles we've seen and how close together these guys can run. It's like I'm watching a real life event most of the time. You know, you don't even see racing like this in a real life event, so it's actually somewhat more entertaining, and we've both been rather high pitched in our voice range when trying to commentate on an event like this. And then some good were nice enough to do it and put them back to back as Jack Noller crosses the line for a 9th. It was 8th. And straight away, he drops down to 9th. 2 minute 12.7 from the GT Omega RPM Esports. But if we have a look at the top 10, it's an all German affair. All 10 of the top 10 are all German cars. One random BMW there in 5th, but 9 of the top 10 Mercedes-Benz. I'm tired of seeing it in Formula 1. Now I get to watch it in GT4 as well.
Yeah, really impressive from Marco Mir, the GTWR racing team driver, the number 32 Italian driver. He's actually 7/10ths quicker than the next non-Mercedes car. So very impressive from him so far as we reach 4 minutes to go in this qualifying session. But yeah, Merc dominance, something we are accustomed to in this day and age in high-level motorsport.
Andy Brouwer there, Aiden Brouwer. Is that Aiden Brouwer? Aiden Brouwer. Thank you, Michael. Aiden Brouwer there, currently in 18th position from Twitch TV / I can't read that. Sorry. I'm just going to give you a punt. A to the ace. There we go. Twitch.tv / A to the ace. Just give you a bit of a punt there on your Twitch channel. But he's in 19th at the moment in his Audi. His Audi R8 LMS. Car number 93, and that's a beautiful blue. A very striking car. We're going to see that from quite some distance. But again, top 22 are separated by 2 seconds. That's absolutely... Look, the top 10 all being Mercedes-Benz are a second quicker than most. But how close are these times again?
Yeah, it's always the way with these races. We've come so accustomed to it now, Kyle. But it really does seem, from the last time we've seen the top of the standings, that the top 3 were in a class of their own. 6/10ths to 4th position, and then further second covers 4th to 18th. So really tight, as we're now on board with one of the perennial favourites in SimGrid. We've seen him many times, and I think he's competed in most of the races that we have had. Andy Boardman in shock and awe, the Aston Martin. And one of his favourite cars, it seems like, when he is out in these races as he comes around the line. 3.4 seconds off. Not accustomed to be that far down the grid is Andy Boardman. He bumps himself up to 23rd. That was a 2:13.8. But 2:13.8, we're seeing the pole men in the 2:11s. 2:11s. Some people probably do that in GT3s.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to mention my times, so that's just embarrassing. But Axel Petit, AAA Esports, he's currently down in 11th. We expect to see him a little bit higher up, but he didn't choose the Mercedes-Benz, so we will forgive him for that. The Aston Martin, I think the first of the Aston Martins. No, definitely first the Aston Martin. So, but changing the lead though, Civilotti has taken pole, 2:11.697, just behind him, 0.015 behind that Charkart. Then a further 0.1, I say further, it's really not that much of a distance. Wolf Matuszka down in 3rd place ahead of the only BMW Miura from GWR Esports, another another GWR driver. We did see a whole host of them at the previous race we commentated on, or we streamed. But Wolf Matuszka was the quickest in free practice, but not the quickest here in qualifying.
Yeah, still 1 minute and 52 seconds, so he will definitely get another lap after this one. Axel Petit, he comes over the line. He jumps up to 8th to try and stop that Merc dominance in the top 10. He's only 9/10ths off in that Aston Martin. But we've seen so far this Merc dominance, but it really does differ in terms of race. We will see how these Mercs carry their tires, we will see how these Mercs carry their fuel, and really it does most times in this track come down to consistency in the driver, because we know how easy it is to make a mistake in Bathurst, and one brush up against the wall could change your race entirely.
Yeah, Jack Nola actually using Wolf as a bit of a rabbit to chase. He's down in 9th at the moment, so you will probably see him jump up as Wolf goes across the line. Jack Nola goes across the line and does jump himself up into 7th place, dropping that pesky Aston Martin further outside the top 10. I don't think the Mercedes-Benz want them there. Bit of a messy section going through there. On board now with Gregory Tanson in the Audi. He is in 17th place at the moment, just behind his Audi compatriot Brau, who's in 15th. 1.4 seconds. Look at those. Look how from Fender Kokalt down to Babham. So 14th to 18th is 0.1 of a second.
Yeah, and again, no surprise. We were shocked the first time me and you covered, Kyle, one of these races, but really, there's no surprise anymore in our voices. We're not stunned anymore. Well, we are stunned, but it's not a surprise. We expect this sort of racing from the sim grid, but it's nice to see multiple continents being represented. We, of course, Civilati, the Argentinian. We've got a Pole in second. We've got Wolf in third. So it really is nice to see the different nationalities and continents being represented here at the sharp end of the field.
You mentioned Civilati, and if I'm not mistaken, I'm sure Michael will correct me, but I remember him in a previous 1 hour. They weren't forced to change tires. He decided against changing tires and ran a. Sorry, Saklari. My apologies, Saklari. So very close together, so you can see how I got that wrong. But it'll be interesting to see if the guys do use tires or not, and whether they run long or do a quick stop. It's the strategy is something that Charcot in the last lap, in waiting time, has moved himself up to pole position in the AMG Motorsports Mercedes-Benz by 0.3 of a second. What an insane last lap that was.
Yeah, he has really just stamped his foot over this qualifying session. We've just seen their track grip go up to optimum, but I don't think he got too much of that optimum track grip in his lap time. I think it only switched as he was coming down into the last section. But one of my countrymen, Damien Moore here, the Irishman in the Mercedes, he's down in 28th at the minute, but really the pole men, the first 4 or 5 are just running away with it. 3:10 separating first to second, and then look at those times separating 8th to 22nd. Pick a number, because that is going to be close in that midfield battle. Damien Moore coming across the line to finish his session. He does not improve. 2:14.4, and we're looking at 2:14.4s, and we're looking at 3 seconds off. But I mean, that's still a very impressive time around here.
Yeah, that's it's a time faster than what I would be able to do. I can be completely honest with you. But if you have a look now at the end of qualifying, it's Charcot on pole. He managed to get that lap in the dying moments of qualifying. 0.3 quicker than second place Civilati, with Wolf Matushka down in third, and Montalbano in fourth, Fistoral in fifth, Amura in sixth, Noller in seventh, and I'm not even going to attempt that. I'm going to Shermatinsky in eighth, Zeka in ninth, and Petit in 10th. Well, that rounds out qualifying for us. I did give you a bit of a tidbit information. We're going to have a little quick look at what's coming up in the news for SimGrid and our new series. It's the more female. Sorry, Michael, give it to me again. More female races series. Sorry, I had it tripped over my tongue. Then the more female races series. We've got a little bit of a promo video to show you. And I think it's going to be it's a really great initiative from the SimGrid and Coach Dev Academy.
Hello everyone! We've announced last week the More Female Racers Championship, powered by SimGrid. It's an incredible championship where women get to drive alongside experienced co-drivers. It has 4 races, some of my favorite tracks: Misano, Hungaroring, Laguna Seca and Nürburgring. The response so far on social media has been incredibly positive, and I'm really happy about it. But we need more women to get involved in this championship. So ladies, please make sure you go and register on the SimGrid website right now. If you're fearing or you're nervous about racing online, I totally get it. I was there 6 months ago. But the best solution to get over your fear is to actually go and race online. Plus, you will have some incredible guidance from myself, from the other girls, Girl Power, and from the co-drivers, experienced co-driver that will drive alongside you. So don't wait, and I see you all on track super soon.
Well, that was Taya giving us a little bit more information on the More Females Races series here, powered by the SimGrid and the Coach Dev Academy. It was originally her idea. She did come up with the plan to get more female sim racers and give them a little bit more of a platform to showcase their abilities. And quite an interesting series there, Connall.
Yeah, very interesting. 4-round series, first kicking off next weekend or next Wednesday, excuse me. Invitational event at Brands Hatch. That is more of a laid back event just to get people dialed into the series and dialed into SimGrid. But yeah, a lot of interest being shown currently, which is fantastic. It's a great initiative, as you were saying, Kyle. A lot of interest. So if you are thinking about it or you're on the fence and you finally decide you want to do it, get involved as quickly as possible and get registered on the simgrid.com.
Yeah, it's really nice to see a lot of push coming from motorsports worldwide in terms of getting more women into motorsports. They are generally far more attractive than us males, so it'll be nice to see more of them on the grid. No, that was a very sexist thing to say, Carl. I take it back. But a lot of very fast ladies. I've been drilled around the circuit many, many times by the likes of Fabian Lance, Tasman Pepper in my karting career. And it's nice to see them doing well in the W Series. Tasman also showing interest in the more female racing series that's coming to you from the SimGrid. So it'll be nice to see if my fellow South African can put in an entry there, and I'll be watching with a keen eye to see if South Africa can bring home some more motorsport silverware. We take the SimGrid very seriously, so it'll definitely be a big punt for us to see if she can do well there. But on the formation lap, we go now. Chocot warming up those tires in the Mercedes-Benz. It's going to be interesting to see what they do in terms of tire and fuel wear. They are very quick in qualifying. As you can see, I think it's still, 8 out of the top 10 being Mercedes-Benz. But it'll be interesting to see what happens to them over the duration of the race.
Yeah, just looking at that shot, watching the later, you'd swear it was a Mercedes Cup race for some reason, but it's not. Don't adjust your sets. As you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, there are more manufacturers out there, although we've seen that Merc dominance. Be interesting to get to speak past. Hopefully we'll be able to speak with some of the Merc drivers, or even some of the drivers who have been battling against some of these Mercedes cars, and find out what the benefits, what the strengths and weaknesses are of this Merc around here. I know myself, if I ever get another GT4 race at Bathurst, these guys they're selling me on the Mercedes.
Yeah, clearly. What better way to sell a brand of race car than to have 8 in the top 10? What do they say? What wins on a Sunday, sells on a Monday, and that's definitely going to be the case here. We've got a Bathurst race coming up next week, Monday. I'm definitely going to be jumping into the Mercedes-Benz. But one would assume it's obviously the straight line speed here at Bathurst. I mean, there's a lot of very tricky and tight sections of the circuit, but also a lot of very high speed stuff. So possibly maybe it's a little bit quicker down the section here into the back straight out of the mountain than other manufacturers.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a car with top speed advantage around here, but cannot actually make the corners, you're going to have a very, very difficult race. But these guys obviously feel confident in the balance of this Mercedes, that they can string it out over the course of the lap. So we'll see how this get on. Of course, the top non-Merc is 6th, that is Mura, and we have an Aston Martin in 10th, that is Petit, the number 996. So watch out for those guys trying to battle that Mercedes dominance inside that 10.
Yeah, we know the first lap here can be very, very messy. As we're on board now with Niels van der Kolkhout from Sidemax Motorsport, we're not used to seeing him that far down the grid, and the same can be said for Klaus Neiring. We normally see them quite a lot higher up in the grid, so I'm sure they'll be working hard to push themselves further up the order. But it is a 1-hour race. We do say we expect to see them a little bit calm and collected for the first part of the lap, and every time we're proven wrong.
Yeah, we said that for the 3-hour race at Monza. We said how calm and collected was going to be compared to the Sprint Cup, and we were proven wrong. So GT4 madness. Hopefully these guys will have seen the name of this race. They'll be trying to live up to it, and they will.
Yeah, so they'll see the title and try and work their way to reach our expectations, I'm sure. And they've listened to us before, and I'm sure they want to hear us high-pitched again and losing our minds. So I'm expecting to see a little bit more of a sprint vibe on the first lap as they're getting ready to go through the final corner now, all set up for the start of this race. They're in queue, they're in line, they're lined up in formation. They're heading up towards the lights, and now it's still red at the moment. We're waiting for it to go green. And they cross. It's gone green now. We're away and we're racing. Charcot dropped down to second place already from the start. Are we going to see a move around the outside here? No, it's Wolf Matuszka that makes the move, moves himself up from that third place to second. A lot of drivers running wide, but it looks like we made it all through turn 1, as it's an absolute gaggle of cars heading up towards turn 2. This is where we normally see the mistakes happen and the errors happen here in Bathurst. They are still side by side, the Mercedes-Benz Cup Racing, heading into turn 2, but a gaggle of cars just behind them. Wolf Matuszka losing that second place, though, as they head through the right-hander.
Yeah, Civolotti trying to get that position back. Wolf is still fighting. They're almost into the wall there. Wolf nearly spun. Civolotti, the Argentinian, they're all trying to get up to the leader, but this will be perfect for the leader. He will be gagging for this to see the rest of the guys battling, and he can just open that gap. But of course, no tire warmers here, as we see a bit of bumping and boring there up into the mountain section as we climb. But Josh Martin, he has had an incident. He is down in last. But we're still seeing the Mercedes top 4. Murray has made a position. He is 5th on this first lap. But of course, no tire warmers here, folks, don't forget. So a lot of mistakes easily made on these. Oh, we're side by side here.
3 abreast. What are they doing? They're still on. There's a spin. It's Giuseppe. Giuseppe spun that car around. No, Giuseppe, who was up in 3rd place, but 4th place, has spun that car around. And he just has to sit and wait for the traffic jam to come past him. Zeko is in that 7th place Apex Racing Team, but with quite a bit of a gap. So unfortunately, Giuseppe turning it around and costing himself all the positions. I'm sure he'll be rejoining right at the back of the pack there with Josh Martin. But at the moment, it's Civolotti still in 2nd place. He's gotten that move done on Wolf Matuszka and gotten a 2nd place back, as Giuseppe is still trying to turn it around in that tight mountain section with a 14-point turn.
Oh, that must be so frustrating qualifying at the sharp end. And then we've just received word from Michael Hammett that Niels van der Kokal, one of our favourites here at SimGrid, one of the guys who are always battling at the sharp end, he's actually entered the pits and quit. So we're not sure what has happened, as the number 93 car of Brow, he has made his way up inside Shermansky in the Mercedes, looking for a top 10 finish, you would suspect. But we're having action the whole way through the field, as always with SimGrid.
Look at that shot of those headlights coming up the straights. It's ridiculous. You can't even see how many cars there are. There's so many on the straight, and they're still coming through the last corner. So on board now with Josh Martin down in 24th place. He's made up 2 places. He's caught up onto the back of this train. So Josh on a charge. He's got a lot of positions to make up in very, very little time. He's in very, very little time. He's in 24th place. He's got an hour to do it, but it's not that long of a race if you actually think about it.
No, it's not, and it's even harder at Bathurst. You know, a couple of opportunities here and there to make the pass. Although these guys are really proving me wrong. I said it was going to be a tough place to pass on, and these guys are just diving up the inside at places you wouldn't expect. And maybe that element of surprise is a key to making ground around this track as we're on board. What a shot. I wouldn't like to be a cameraman sitting on the edge of that track with these cars coming around.
No, I'd be honesty. I'd have to change my underwear 2 or 3 times. On board though with Vincent in the McLaren, he's moved up. I think he was qualified at 14th place. He's moved himself up into the top 10. But that's the car that we want to keep an eye on in terms of tyre management and tyre wear. We have a little bit of inside information that it is a little harsh on tyres over a long distance. But the cars we don't have much information on are the front 3 cars, being the Mercedes-Benz. And they are definitely very, very quick around here. But whether or not they can maintain that pace, they've already pulled a 1.9 second gap on the BMW of Marco Moore from GTWR Racing Team. We've did witness 6 or 7 of these guys from GTWR at the last event at, I think it was Mugello. But he's already lost 1.9 seconds on the front Mercedes.
Yeah, it just shows that the Mercedes... Oh, we have a spin. Multiple cars involved here, only 2 thankfully, as we see. Hopefully he rejoins. Okay, he's rejoining a little in the way, but that's all he can do. That's Shermansky, the Russian, the number 2 Mercedes. He was fighting somewhere 13th, 12th, 13th. Do we have another
mistake?
Audi. Oh my goodness, and he spun. Oh, this is not going well. Yeah, well, when you get on the grass here, it's 6 in the morning. There's grass is probably not exactly the grippiest. 18 degrees, it's cool. Might be some morning dew here, as we see Marco Murray trying to defend his 4th position. Really would be a fantastic result for him, given this apparent Mercedes dominance here, with being the only non-Mercedes in the top 7. Really would be a great result to stay in 4th position, but he's under pressure now from Fisterol, and he has a menacing Jack Knoller coming up behind him as well.
It was interesting to see where the difference on the Mercedes-Benz and the BMW. So Urbich just lost the place now to Courtney. He's going to lose another one to the Audi. Oh, it looked like the Audi was going to have a go there. We did see in the opening laps cars running 2 abreast around here, which is absolutely mind-blowing. You can't pass on the circuit, guys. It's too difficult. No, we'll run 2 abreast, don't worry. So Urbich was coming under a massive attention there from Bra, but managed to hold him off in that 11th place. Through the chicane, he's run wide. He's had to take it to the Astro. Definitely going to be a track warning there for time gained, but managed to keep the thing all together and out of the walls phenomenally. I probably would have turned myself into a ping pong ball at that point. But it was interesting to watch between Mura and Fisterol, the differences in the cars over that short bit that we got to see them. It looked like up out of turn 1, up towards the mountain, the Mercedes is a little bit stronger than the BMW. Oh, into the wall he goes. Who was that in the BMW?
It might have been Zivanovic in the BMW, and yes, it was Zivanovic. He hit that wall very, very hard. So, again, races can be turned on a dime via those pesky walls here at Bathurst.
Yeah, they don't seem to stand still, those walls. They tend to move in on you during the race. As Vincent Urbich under pressure again from the Audi. The Audi goes deep to the outside to try and get the cut back into the final corner. Urbich good off the brakes, carrying good mid-corner, and he's managed to get himself a little bit of breathing room into turn 1. But the move is definitely going to be made up into turn 2 towards the mountain. This is the famous corner that used to house a tree stump that claimed the life of many a driver here at Bathurst. But tree stump has since been removed, and the Audi now looking for a way past on the McLaren of Vincent Urbich up towards turn 2. Slipstream, big effect at the moment. He's going to have to go the long way around. The McLaren forcing him to do so. Hard on the brakes into the right-hander, and they are still a line astern heading into the mountain.
Yeah, fantastic racing here as always. Urbich in the McLaren, of course. We've mentioned multiple times already about that tyre wear not be affecting him, as we have just had 8 minutes gone. So far, it feels like it's still the first lap. Time really does fly. As we're on board with Edinburgh, still pressuring him. Klaus Neiring, the Dane in the number 23 car now. Porsche's not looking strong. We've seen a lot of Porsches being picked in the GT4 races that we had previously. Of course, on the GT4 launch now, and we all know the popularity of the Porsche, shall we say, in the GT3 races, but only 3 that we can see competitive at the minute. Of course, we have Van der Courcelles. He had quit out for some undisclosed reasons. He is eliminated from this group. Apparently Van der Courcelles, we've just been informed by Michael, got hit at first elbow and had to retire the car. So the 3 Porsches, the sole remaining Porsches in this race, all battling close together, 16th, 17th, 18th.
Yeah, the Porsches tend to remind me of that crazy hot chick. Super hot and lots of fun when they're behaving, but every now and again it can turn around and bite you, which is what the Porsche does tend to do in GT3 and GT4. The Audi all over the back of the Aston Martin there, but under massive pressure from the Audi of Tansen there, all over the back of Petit, but also under massive pressure from Courtney as well, there in 10th place. So the top 10 dominance of Mercedes-Benz taking a bit of strain at the moment. So Brau got past Urbich. So Urbich has been overtaken by Brau just outside, just as they came down from the mountain. So great move there from Brau to get past Urbich, and Brau now chasing down a top 10 position, which is not far away with Courtney just ahead of him. That Mercedes-Benz of Courtney is starting to lose a bit of pace, and is this what we're going to see for the rest of the race as we're on board now with Bruno Mello coming under pressure from Neiring?
Yeah, really under pressure now. Neiring was a little bit back on the first lap. On the previous lap. And now Neiring has caught up to Bruno Mello in his slipstream. Will he look to the inside? He's right in that slipstream. He could almost reach out and touch Bruno Mello's car. But we're on board again with Ian Bryce. Lost the position again to Urbich. And this is a battle that will be raging on for the remainder of these last 50 minutes.
Yeah, these two cars seem to decide who they want to lead. It's one in front of the other, and then the other in front of the other again. They can't seem to decide who they want to be in front of. But great to see racing throughout this. And we're only 10 minutes into the race. We've got to do this another 5 times.
Yeah, and we're already getting fatigued here in the commentary booth. We must need to get into a strict training routine and a proper diet, like train like athletes for this, because our breath gets taken away so much in these races. We have a first drive through. That was for Bobbin, the number 999. He is in 22nd position so far. He will more than likely be demoted to the back of the grid for that drive through, I believe, for track limits. If Michael could check for that. We thought drive-throughs here unlikely in terms of track limits due to the fact that there's about an inch between the white line and the wall, so you would have to be pretty damaged car to exceed track limits 4 times. Drive-through is for an incident that the stewards have deemed punishable. So we are on board again with Brow, losing time to Urbich. Now 1.8 as he is up over the curves. He is loose. Urbich looks a lot calmer as we see a pass that is Tansen and Kedela. These two guys are battling and now let's let Petit get away a bit.
Kedela now getting a position back from Tansen. So Kedela obviously lost that place to the Audi. He's now trying to make that move back. He's gone the long way around in the final corner. Move done and dusted. What a great drive there from Kedela. And he moves himself back up into that 9th place. But interesting to see Petit coming into his own now in that GT4. He obviously didn't spend much time in the GT4. We know he's a very, very quick driver in the GT3s. So maybe just not spending enough time in the GT4 and only starting to get his head around it at the moment as we're on board now with the front 2. It looks like our leader, Charcot, has definitely got it away. He's 3.1 seconds away from these two. But Wolf and Civilotti locking horns with 48 minutes left to go in this race.
Yeah, Matuska was 1.8 off when I last seen, so whether Civilotti made a mistake or Wolf has found some pace, we do not know, but it really does look like the Wolf has found the pace because he is closed in and is pounding Civilotti here as we go down the mountain. Always so easy to make a mistake, and always quite easy to make a mistake. Oh, as we see, he almost brushes against the wall. That surely would have spelled disaster for his race there. But yeah, difficult to follow a car down that hill, especially when the propensity to make a mistake is so high.
Yeah, it's difficult just to get around there on your own, never mind following another car. So it's a horribly difficult circuit, this. And as we were saying, you don't see very many drive-through penalties for exceeding track limits 4 times. But the circuit does force you to do a drive-through regardless, because your car is going to be pretty much wrecked after you've hit the wall 4 times. But Marco Moore still under pressure from Fisterol. Fisterol close enough to make a move now. Is he going to dive it on the inside? Oh, he's not going to send it. That would have been a proper send if he decided on that one. But again, interesting to see between these two where the differences in the cars are. It looks like that BMW, and he said Alpha, that BMW just accelerates out of the tight stuff a little bit better than that of the Mercedes. It could be the 2 drivers or the 2 setups, but it does seem to have the acceleration on the Mercedes. But the Mercedes definitely got the top end on the 2 of them. And it does look like they are catching this battle for 2nd and 3rd.
Yeah, 4.2 seconds is the lead. Maybe that's why Fisterol is looking so aggressive behind Mura, the BMW. He might think he has a chance of getting up to P2 and P3 here in this podium battle. We see Matuszka, one of the only drivers not to have the lights on, but he doesn't need them in that bright pink in Mercedes.
Yeah, and he's been stuck up the back end of pretty much a chrome red Mercedes as well, a very shiny red Mercedes in front of him, so he can just follow around on those brake lights. He doesn't need the front lights open as well. But back to Brau, he's now battling with Muscat. So Brau was all over the back of Abrook. They were swapping paint and swapping positions, but now he's under pressure from Scott Muscat in another AMG. Chasing him up through the mountain. But again, it looks like the Mercedes just not that good up into the mountain as the other manufacturers.
Yeah, it seems that way. Just want to check if you want to follow the time screen on your left hand side of Jack Noller. We mentioned him briefly earlier on in this race, but that battle between Mura and Fisterol is hotting up, and Jack Noller is closing on to both of them. This is the battle of Civilotti and Matuszka still raging on. Of course, when you're in identical cars, you will have known through your own driving what the strengths and weaknesses are, and you won't be able to capitalize because obviously it's the same car. It will purely be based down to your setup and your driving style. The differences between the two will result in passes or quicker lap times. As we see Matushka, he's all over him. Will he get the inside? He's going for it, he's having a look, but he thinks better of it. Probably a wise decision there for Matushka.
Yeah, with 44 minutes still to go, 3/4 of an hour of this race left. It's not a great time to be sending one down the inside. But if Matushka does really have the pace that we think he's got, being stuck behind Civilotti, it's just allowing Charcot to get that further away from them. And it allows him to be a little bit easier with his strategy. And the follow-up has to come from Civilotti and Matushka once the pit stops start happening. We do expect, I think Michael gave us a little bit of information earlier, if I remember correctly, that we expect them to stop sort of around just past the halfway mark with 20 minutes left to go. I think that was the idea. Oh, no mandatory stop for this hour. So Michael giving me the rundown there. No mandatory stop for this hour. So these cars don't actually need to stop, and they should run an hour on fuel if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we're seeing now Murray and Feasterall with their own battle have lost 5 seconds now to second and third. So I think any chance that Feasterall thinks he has is slipping away the longer he stays behind Murray. As we see people getting very, very loose into turn 2. Josh Martin, a very quick guy, he's making his way back up through the field in the Aston Martin. We don't know quite what happened to him earlier on in the first lap of the race, but he is making his way back up through the field. On board now, Sammy Kettle at the Finn. He is Simsamic Racing. That is his team. He is in a Mercedes, surprise, chasing down that Aston Martin of Petit. 4 seconds Petit has to 7th place. 7th place Zeka is seemingly having a lonely race, although it's only 2 seconds back to Knoller, Feasterall and Murray. And then Murray is a further, we're going to see at the time screen, 5.3 back to that battle for the podium. But these guys, it's now a battle of 3 officially. Knoller is there and he's behind these guys. That is a battle of 3.
Yeah, Knoller getting into a little bit of Axel Petit about to lose that place to the Mercedes-Benz. The Mercedes-Benz was forced to go the long way around, bouncing over the curbs. So the Aston got out of hand and started tapping on the inside front wing of that Merc. So that was almost a bit of a dodgy situation. As we look at Cornaccia, the driver we saw in the front of GT3, but back to this battle between Axel Petit from AAA Esports on that of Kettler. Kettler caught him very quickly in that previous lap. He was nowhere near close enough to make a move. He's close enough now into the final corner, into the first corner, sorry. Is he going to wait and see if he can get it done up on the run up towards turn 2 into the mountain?
Yeah, that gap 2 at the front, as we see Feasterall just lost a bit of time to Murray. I suspect that may have been a slight mistake because it's also backed up into Knoller. As you see these two guys, Petit and Kettler. Kettler's going to have to go around the long way. Petit has shown him the outside as they brush up against each other through turn 2, and Petit really did show him the outside line and shoved him. They must have made contact there, but no harm, no foul there. That was good defensive driving from Axel Petit, the number 996 in the Aston Martin. But interesting to note, the gap between Charcot and Civilotti hasn't really increased, maybe a 10th or 2 over the past couple of laps. So Matushka, he has lost a few tenths to Civilotti, not enough to completely be off Civilotti's toe, but it'll be interesting to monitor that gap between first and second and see what Civilotti can do to try and gap. Now that he's got a bit of breathing space behind, try and close that gap to Charcot.
Look, I think that gap is growing substantially at the moment. But that move with Petit, I mean, Petit got the squeeze put on him, and he responded quite well by leaning onto the Mercedes-Benz on his outside. And that was some proper racing between the two of them. It's the exact way you would expect them to respond in real cars as well. When you get lent on like that into the apex to try and intimidate the move around the outside. And Petit just slowly but surely opened the steering wheel and showed that Mercedes-Benz of Kettler the outside wall. Gave him the option, you can either crash or you can lift.
Yeah, of course, great defensive driving. It was up to, as we see contact again between these two guys. They're almost going to run into the grass. They are going to run into the grass. Kettle is going to gain that position on the grass, and that is pretty much sums up that GT4 madness that we've been talking about. Contact made onto the brake, and that has upset both guys braking, and they have run wide onto that grass. Petit has rejoined the track earlier than Kettle, so it'll be interesting to see whether Kettle has to give that position back as he gained it over the grass.
Yeah, Gentleman Racing would prevail, and then Kittler should give that position back, but he's decided against it, maybe blaming Petit for the initial contact and why they ran wide. So he hasn't given that position back, and he's theoretically got the move done and can get his head down to move onto the back of Zeka just in front of him. Well, when I say just in front of him, 8 seconds ahead of him, so he's got a lot of work ahead of him. But on board now with Aidenbrow. From just behind him, though, is the Mercedes-Benz of Muscat. He's looking for a way past, and he has been for the last couple of laps. So this battle has been going on for at least 2 or 3 laps. But back to the battle at front, it's Civilotti and Matuszka.
Yeah, Matuszka is definitely regrouped. Sharkot must have put in a fantastic lap there because he has really opened that gap. It was staying constant within that 3-second range. It is now 4.6 over the line the last lap, and Wolf Matuszka is, well, it says 5/10. That doesn't look like 5/10 to me. Wolf Matuszka is all over the back of Civilotti now, and surely he will want to take Civilotti and see what he can do with the Sharkot lead. But with Wolf Matuszka, we've seen some of his driving in Monza. If you were with us for the 3 hour of Monza, he knows what he's doing. He's an experienced driver, great racecraft we've seen from him at Monza. It'll be interesting to see what he can do to Civilotti.
He's been putting pressure all over the back of that red and white Mercedes-Benz for the last 22 minutes. And Civilotti's been doing well, not to crack under the pressure, although that mirror is filled with that day-glow pink Mercedes-Benz. But it looks like Jack Noller is up past that of Fisterol. So Noller's gotten past Fisterol and is now on the attack for Moore.
Yeah, we've seen Fisterol, as we see Petit, he has regained the position on Kedala. Don't know if that was a position given to him, but more than likely it wasn't. He would have had to force his way through, I suspect. But Petit and Kedala still going to be battling. Kedala maybe looking to go one better at this corner that we are looking at now. We're on board with Cody Pride. The top Porsche is Harwood. He is only a 10th up on Cody Pride, so these 2 Porsches battling away. Nyring has lost time. He is in 20th place. So it looks like it's going to be a 2-man Porsche group to see who is going to be the top in that respective manufacturer.
Yeah, it's the German cars. Oh, they're going at it again. Petit and Ketteler. Petit was going to go around the outside there, thought better of it, but just allowed the Mercedes-Benz through. But he's not giving up just yet, up into the left-hander here. He tried to stay outside. He pretty much kissed the wall with that wing mirror. How close was that? Close as you like it.
Yeah, that's why we enjoy these SimGrid camera shots, but we really wouldn't like any cameramen to be actually standing there, or camera equipment, because it would be very costly, both in human safety and camera equipment. But we have Petit now all over the back.
The move is on you.
There's no way he's going to go on the outside. He's going to think better of it, I would hope, because that is just not a place you want to go around the outside. You may find yourself exceeding track limits via force there. But interesting to note, Tanson only 2.3 away. If these guys get into the sort of battling that they were getting into, big wall hit. That is a back marker. That is an Audi. He is not featuring in this battle. He is a back marker. But as I was getting to Tanson, only 2.3 down the road. If these 2 guys get into the battle, that it doesn't look like it's going to be, Kettle is now starting to open a bit of a gap. But back with 2nd and 3rd here. These 2 guys glued together. No surprise there.
It almost looks like there's a tow bar on the back of Civilotti's Mercedes-Benz, and he's just towing Matuszka around the track. Is that Charcot just ahead of him?
It is 6 seconds now is the gap. So Charcot really putting the pace on. Yeah, we're just getting information there from Michael.
Oh, moving on the inside.
As we see,
Moved on the
that's
inside.
going to be tight. Oh, he doesn't get it done. But yeah, that was a luck. That was more than a luck. That was a lunge. And Civilati will be aware of that. He will know that Wolf now, due to the language, the body language of the car, he is now wanting to attack. As we see Wolf brushing against that wall. But these two guys doing 2:12.6 on those last laps, and Sharkot, he has just done his personal best lap of the race at 2:11.9. So given that qualifying was a 2:11.3, Sharkot is on the absolute limits here in this race. So still running half of a tank, you would suspect. So fantastic pace for a 2:11.9 from Sharkot.
Yeah, we were hoping, not hoping, we were expecting to see tyres start to drop off now at the half an hour mark. Half an hour on a set of tyres is quite a distance, but these GT4s are a little bit better on tyres than that of the GT3s. So it'll be interesting to see where each manufacturer starts to burn tyres. The one that we were concerned about, or the one that we wanted to see more about, is Erbach. We have the information that his tyres will drop off substantially in comparison to other manufacturers. But Matushka has gone from looking like he's following Civilati around the track to now look like he's actively attacking that red and white Mercedes-Benz of Civilati.
Yeah, Wolf, we've seen from his body language, and you can tell when you're watching a driver when he's just sitting behind comfortable or when he's attacking, because he's looking all over left, right of you, trying to make that move. And Civilati will be blatantly aware of this, having the advantage of MERS. We don't get that in bike racing, we just get people up the inside of us. But Civilati will know, but these two guys losing time, big time, this Sharkot, 0.6 of a second per lap, maybe even 0.8, as we see just 6.8 behind is Mures. So Wolf has the freedom to attack. Matushka has the freedom to attack because he knows he's not going to be challenged from behind, barring a huge mistake. So that does give him that pressure off, and it just enables all the pressure to be on per Civilati.
Having a look at the battle between the two of them now, it definitely looks like Wolf is hungry to get past. I think the Wolf realizing that they're losing a lot of time on the leaders. But if we go back to the battle between Marco Moore and that of Nolla now within 0.4 of a second, and the race is on for that fourth place between the lone BMW in the top 10 and one of the Mercedes-Benz contingencies that have been dominating this race at Bathurst. But it looks like to me the pick of the car for Bathurst is definitely that of the Mercedes-Benz. As we have a look back at Harwood in 17th place, Martin has moved himself up into 18th from the back of the grid and is now putting Harwood under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, we've seen earlier the battle between Nyring and Mello, and Martin has done the pair of them, so fantastic driving from Josh Martin. Will this be a move?
Oh, move ya.
He is pulled out of the slipstream now. He's alongside just. Will he get the run? No, he doesn't. He loses a bit of time, but under braking, will he get that advantage? Again, he thinks better of it. Wolf is really playing the patient game, and not necessarily the patient game, but the smart game. No need for a dive bomb there, causing both damage and losing out in that race big time. He's no pressure from behind. Murray and all are 7 seconds behind. He has that advantage, knowing that gap, so he can just take his time. Still 30 minutes, half of the race left to get Civilati. He knows Sharkot is pretty much out of it. He's not going to get Sharkot with the pace he is setting. So he is only focusing. He only has eyes for Civilati.
Yeah, that he lost a bit of time there in that move. It'll be interesting to see how quickly he catches it up. Because if he has the pace of Sharkot, he should be all over the back of him by the time they exit this section of corners here. We saw previously how fast he was there. On board now with Vincent, the McLaren, the pink, very salmon pink. I was going to say another pink that I can't say on air. But Brow has definitely closed that gap on Vincent. And it looks like either Vincent's starting to lose some pace in that McLaren, or maybe just made a mistake on the previous lap. But that gap is definitely closed between himself and the Audi, and we're going to see these two swap paint and swap positions again, I'm sure.
Yeah, these guys have been battling throughout this race. Interesting to see. There's a couple of people that have just rapidly dropped off the pace. We've seen Fitzgerald battling with Murray. He is now 2 seconds off Noller. As we see Martin, he has passed the Porsche of Harwood, and he is now trying to get through the top Porsche in Cody Pride, the 701 car. But yeah, just what I was getting back to earlier, Fitzgerald, he has dropped back. He's 2 seconds off Noller and Murray. Of course, he was in the midst of that battle, actually ahead of Noller not too long ago. Petit, we've seen battling with Kedla. He is 3.4 back and is actually being caught by Tanson now. So we're seeing a couple of guys dropping pace very unexpectedly. So possible brushes with wall, possible damage, we don't know. But tire war shouldn't be too big now with only half the race gone. But it'd be interesting to see feedback from these guys after this race as to why they're dropping off the pace so suddenly.
Yeah, damage a little less pertinent in the GT4s than in the GT3s. I don't think the aero package as sensitive as it is on the GT3 cars. So, but the walls here do tend to jump out at your car almost at least once a lap. So I think a lot of contact with the walls that may explain a lot of drop-off, or possibly just setups running too high on pressures or too much camber and damaging the tire too early on in the race. And that's why you see a lot of people do drop off throughout these 1 hour races. Down the inside now goes the Aston Martin on the Porsche of Harwood. He's going to have to go the long way around. The Porsche says, no thanks, my mate. I'm dead on the brakes. Oh, contact! Oh, a punt from behind. And that's from Mello, Naring there. Naring giving Mello a little bit of a helping hand to exit stage left there. A quick replay. And it just shows that a little bit late in the brakes there for Naring. And ran into the back of the Aston Martin there, Mello. And unfortunately sent him exit stage right. Back to the battle now for second and third, and it is definitely back to contact all there.
Yeah,
so,
big contact there. Civilotti, you'd swear he was driving
wide
Mercedes.
again.
A Mercedes van, and he had a camper behind him with how close Matuszka is. But Matuszka will have seen that. He'll have known Civilotti is on his limits, making mistakes now, and surely he will be looking at pounds very, very soon.
Yeah, the back end of this 8-wheeled Mercedes-Benz, they've been like this for the last 33 minutes. We're past the halfway, and you can see Wolf Matuszka is now hungry to get past that of Civilotti. The Wolf is hunting him down the hill here. He didn't get a good exit onto the long straight, but the slipstream should help him out and bring him closer to the back end of Civilotti. He's really close now as they head towards the braking marker, but not close enough to have a dive down the inside, unfortunately. So Perez not giving the inspiration there to the BWT liveried Mercedes-Benz to just have a full send down the inside.
Yeah, I feel bad for the leader, Sharkot. He has done an absolutely exquisite race so far, and we haven't even seen anything of him. But that's normally, I think, if I was in Sharkot's position, I'd rather not be seen and be so dominant as opposed to be seen and be in a battle, a crazy battle for 10th or 11th. As we see damage here for Josh Martin, he has hit that wall on the entrance, on the run up, possibly in somewhere along the line. We don't exactly know where, but Josh Martin have damage. Big shame for him. He was making great ground. He was driving very, very good race after his incident early on in that race. So unfortunate for Josh, but that's what happens when you're making your way up through the field. Sometimes you destroy your tires having to actually make that ground back up. So very unfortunate for Josh Martin. Back with these guys. I mean, this could go on to the very dying seconds of this race.
Would you expect anything less from the SimGrid and GT4 though, Connall? Let's be honest. Race. Oh, another clip of the wall for Wolf. Wolf and that wall are making love to each other quite often throughout this race. He seems to have signed his name there. We've seen him 2 or 3 times grab that BP Ultimate wall. So maybe hoping if he rubs it a few times, he gets a little bit of extra fuel load. Maybe he didn't run enough fuel for the 1 hour race. But he's lost a lot of time on Civilotti in front of him through that mistake, and he's going to have to work to get himself all the way back again. But we've seen he's got the pace, and we've seen that he can close quite a big gap on Civilotti. This is the biggest we've seen the gap throughout the race, as we have a look at a ailing BMW with a lot of damage on it. Obviously, it has smashed a couple of those walls throughout this race. and unfortunately he's right at the back of the grid and now coming under pressure from the group of leaders. But the one leader we haven't spoken a lot about, as you were mentioning, is Charcot. But if you wanted TV coverage, he shouldn't have been so far out in front.
Yeah, you know how the broadcast works. We're going to focus on these great battles. Speaking of great battles, look at these guys. We've got Muscat now. We haven't spoken much about Scott Muscat. He is joining this battle between Urbix and Bry, excuse me. These two guys, Urbic and Bry, have been battling on their own quite a lot, and now Muscat thought, I want a piece of that, so he's going to join the party. But I think what we see here, we've seen a lot in this race, is some fantastic defensive driving. Civilotti especially is probably the standout guy. I mean, if Matushka... as we see it run on there for Urbich and Bry. Bry's followed him in, and now Muscat's going to capitalise on this. He's going to have to go around the long way to capitalise on it. Will Bry get him on the braking zone? I don't think he will, unless Muscat runs wide. He doesn't. So, Muscat has gained that position. I believe I know Urbic got it very, very wrong. I believe Bry followed him into the corner. So, big mistake from those two guys. And Muscat, give him an inch, he will take a mile.
Don't you hate it when the spectators jump the wall and move the braking points? Shocking. Absolutely shocking. I hate it when they do that. Both those boys just absolutely forgot where the braking marker was and ran straight on there. But Urbic was lucky not to lose a place, and unfortunately Brow losing out to Scott Muscat there. But more mistakes further back from a damaged Porsche. That's the Porsche of Harwood. He's now coming under massive amounts of pressure from Shematinsky. But on board now with Vincent, that might be a sign that either brakes are on their way out or the tires aren't gripping the way they used to, because it looks like that Mercedes-Benz of Muscat has come right onto the back of that McLaren of Vincent.
Yeah, Muscat has really stepped up his pace right now. He is all over the back aerobics, and he would have had quite a difficult time there actually getting through Bry. Because Bry, we've seen from his battle with Arabic, he is a good driver in terms of racecraft. So Muscat being gifted that one, and he's going to make sure he makes that opportunity count. Back on board with these guys. These two guys are ridiculous. I mean, they must be doing the same lap times over and over and over again, because they're just glued to each other. Fantastic driving from these two. Really is showing how you can have a clean, close battle here at Bathurst, especially in these GT4s, and they're identical cars, so it's all down to these guys driving styles, complementing each other. But Wolf, he's been so patient for these past almost 40 minutes. When will he pounce? You don't want to be leaving it till the last lap. That leaves you with very little opportunity, especially at a track like this, but at the same time, you don't want to pounce too early, especially if you don't think you have the pace to gap your opponent and leave your cards on the table.
Yeah, I don't think either of them could gap each other if they tried their damnedest at the moment. They've been at it for the last 40 minutes and the gap has stayed pretty much exactly the same, with Wolf showing a little bit of intent every now and again, but he did lose a bit of time on him through there. But the Mercedes-Benz of Muscat all over the back of Vincent, and it'd be interesting to see what lap times Vincent was doing in comparison to what he's doing now, with 20 minutes of this 1 hour race left to go. Mercedes-Benz definitely close enough on the McLaren to have a dive up into turn 2. Is he going to have a look? Vincent goes defensive. The Mercedes chooses to run the outside line and look at the run on the way out. Not much of a passing opportunity here into the left-hander. Muscat running very wide on the exits, and now losing at least a car length as they work their way into the mountain here at Mount Panorama.
Fantastic. Look at that shot. The sunrise, 6:45 a.m. in game time. Track temperature is 19 degrees. There's going to be no changes in the weather. Track grip is optimum. These are almost perfect racing conditions. You might have had to get up a bit early, virtually at 6:45 a.m. to go racing, but these conditions, these visuals are fantastic in ACC. As we see these two guys battling, that is Harwood, Shermanetsky. They are just trying to close that 9/10 gap to Cody Pride and Josh Martin. Josh Martin has damage, but he is still soldiering on, battling against these guys. He has had some fantastic, his last lap time actually was 2 minutes 16, so he has lost 3 seconds in comparison to his personal best of a 2:13. But back on board with these guys were on a very consistent 2:13.6 was Erbert's best time, and he did a 2:14.2 their last lap around. So I mean, we're talking about Shortcut doing 2:11s. I mean, I think Muscat, Herbert, these lap times, they're aliens. But Shortcut's I don't know what term would be great for it, but an ultra alien, something along those lines, because those are disgusting lap times that Shortcut was parking in.
Yeah, we'll call him the mother chief.
Yeah, that'll work.
The mothership chief. There we go. I don't know, something like that. Something alien term. You'll think of something. Chaz will give us something. Don't worry.
Yeah, we'll message Chaz.
Round the outside though, go Sheldon. He's gonna go round the outside of. Oh, Vincent giving him absolutely no room. Vincent gave him absolutely no room on the outside and went, no, my boy, I'm not going to let you embarrass me and go on the outside. I'm hanging on to my 11th place for dear life. But we were... Oh, Cody Pride. Wolf isn't... Wait, Wolf was in the wall. Oh, no!
Oh, it's not... Well, if there was
wall.
one spot that Wolf Matushka was going to crash at, it was that spot. He was trying to get that BP sponsorship, I think, and he just tried a little too hard there because he brushed against the wall the past few laps. He smashed into that wall there. We've seen how close he was caught in for the past few laps, and it turns out the guy who we were talking about, who was looking so cool, so calm, so collected, gets caught out by Bathurst.
Vincent nearly did the same thing there as well, so things are getting a little bit hairy. Michael reminding us of something there quickly is that we do have a World Cup starting off on this Saturday. It is the 10 hours. Sorry, no, it's not this Saturday. But we do have a 10-hour World Cup starting first race at Suzuka on the 22nd. And they do have to do in September a 12-hour race here at Bathurst. Obviously, they won't be pushing 10:10s like they are at the moment. But 12 hours of this circuit, these walls are going to take a pounding. I mean, in the real world, I don't understand how these walls even stay standing most of the time. They probably have to replace them at least once or twice a season. The amount of times that drivers tend to brush and smash into them and try and transfer the sponsorship onto their car for the remainder of the racing. But unfortunately, Wolf Matushka trying to transfer that paint across a little bit too fast and has cost himself dearly in his battle for second place. But Jack Noller still all over the back of Moore. That gap stayed very much the same, but on board now with Vincent. Into turn one they go again. The Mercedes-Benz wise to the outside line. He's going to send it down the inside. It's a big send, but somehow he gives him enough room, and Vincent is able to power that McLaren around the outside. We were worried about his tires at an hour into this race, or when the race still had an hour left to run, but with 16 minutes left to go, most of the running done, that McLaren is still able to run around the outside of the Mercedes-Benz into the final corner. They go side by side into turn two. We lose visual briefly, and it looks like that the Mercedes has run completely wide, and coming to join the party is Brow. So eyebrows up, but let's get going, boys. Round the outside, he's going to try and go around the Mercedes. He's not going to make it stick, and Vincent must have the biggest smile on his helmet at the moment because he's got a little bit of breathing room.
Yeah, that was fantastic driving there from those two guys. Give each other enough room. It wasn't exactly to give each other a lot of room, but to give each other enough room to make it round turn one. As we see Muscat all over the show, he wants to get back at Herbert. He wants to gap Brow again. All that hard work. He's on the grass. He's on the grass. Oh, that was close. Muscat is really on the edge. He's making mistakes. Brow will be recognizing this. He'll be looking to capitalize on Muscat. Muscat just needs to settle down, get his breath back, and get back into a rhythm. But it'll be determinant on whether Brow actually lets him get back into that rhythm, because he's all over the back of him right now.
The wall again. So Herbert hit the wall. So did Muscat. The only one of these three that did it was Brow, and now he's going to run on Muscat down the straight. He had to divvy it to the outside because Muscat had the inside covered. That Audi was all over the place to try and get around the outside. Now they're going to run down the long back straight here into the right-hander. They're side by side. The Audi's going to go the long way around here and then onto the brakes. He's on the grass for the brakes. Is he going to get that car stopped in time? Apex is late. Runs wide onto the grass. Sideways. Contact between the two of them. And it's Muscat and Brow Bro, just banging down the oh, contact again. Wow.
Cornacchia.
GT4 madness.
Cornacchia coming through, getting clipped by Muscat, but that was wild. Those two guys were having a great battle there, and you could see that Bry was trying so hard to get stopped, couldn't get stopped, and once you're on the grass, sometimes you are just a passenger, nothing more you could do. Unfortunate for Muscat, I feel very bad for him, but that's what happens when you make a mistake and you go back into someone's clutches. Sometimes the impulsiveness of any racer, we've all been there, the impulsiveness to get by once you see the car ahead make a mistake leads to mistakes such as that. But yeah, this track, it does catch out even the very best drivers.
Vincent must have a massive smile on his face at the moment. He had a bit of breathing room, and now he's got a mountain of it. So Cornacchia now the man that is behind Vincent as we watch between Jack Knoller and Fisterol fighting it out again. Fisterol was all over the back of Knoller. Knoller's run very deep into the final corner to get onto the back of Moore, or maybe that is just his line. He's very narrow into that final hairpin. He still manages to get the drive down the long straight here towards the final segment of this lap. But Fisterol actually got so close onto the back of Knoller going into the mountain, he almost rode into the back of him and had to take evasive action before that infamous BP ultimate wall that has claimed more than one victim today. But Knoller doing a good job there to hang on to the back of Moore. But Michael Hamlet, give me a little bit of information. 11 cars have dropped out of a 1 hour race. DNF for all 11 of those cars. It doesn't bode well for a 12-hour here at Bathurst. But a lot of the guys would rather choose to go back and fix the damage or continue a 12-hour than bail out of a 1 hour. But 11 cars have Bathurst, as Michael says, has claimed 11 lives tonight. And unfortunately, we won't be seeing them back for the remainder of this race. That is the one sad thing about sim racing. One thing the drivers can do is just Control, Alt, Delete, Exit, bye-bye, I'm outie. But something we hope to see less of in the future. We have asked a lot of these drivers to drive themselves back to the pits, especially during qualifying and free practices, just to create a little bit more sense of immersion. We want to be as realistic as possible as we still ride on board with Knoller as he heads up into the mountain. This is where we saw Fisterol catch up to him on the previous lap. Oh, all over the back. Oh, the back end of that Mercedes-Benz starting to get a little bit unruly, a little bit out of shape. Now with only 12 minutes of this race left to run. Can you believe it's only 12 minutes left, Connall?
Yeah, I mean, we see 60 minutes races. It seems like a long time. It isn't. It isn't. It doesn't feel this way for us commentating, and it sure doesn't feel that way for these drivers, because when you're so focused around a track like this, you're really on a knife edge, especially in this section that we are currently on board with Knoller. When you're on a knife edge as you are around here, 60 minutes do go by quite quickly, but Knoller just struggling to stay with Murray. Murray, fantastic, I think. Good, big shout out for Murray. He is the top non-Mercedes. He is top non-Mercedes by 4 positions, so fantastic driving by Murray. He has stayed in that 4th position pretty much the entire race, and he has dealt with a lot of pressure. He's dealt with Knoller, he's dealt with Fisterol, and he stayed calm, he stayed cool, he stayed collected. There's 11 minutes to go. I don't want to curse him. But yes, definitely looking good for the upcoming Coach Dave Academy setups and the BMW GT4. Looking like a good advert here with this Marco Murray, the number 32, the Italian, making a good showing here in this BMW.
Yeah, the BMW very consistent around a lot of the circuits, a car that I've driven a lot of in GT4. And it is something that I prefer driving in GT4, not to say that I am very handy in the GT4s just yet. I need a little bit more time. But unfortunately, I'm spending most of my time talking about the racing and not doing the racing myself. But a very consistent car, and there will be setups coming to you soon. But a very damaged Aston Martin heading down the hill. He's just showing the scrutineers that there's nothing going on inside the engine. He's just popped the bonnet for us. No, he's actually smashed a wall quite severely. And contact! Knoller and Fisterol have come together. Whether Knoller lost it going in there, a little bit of a clutch stab to get that car turned around. replay, no, definitely contact between the two of them. He almost ran into the back of him a couple of laps ago into the same section, and unfortunately, Fitzgerald has done it. So
Yeah.
Fitzgerald
It'll be
did
interesting.
wait.
It'll be interesting to see possibly an onboard from Fitzgerald to see whether he made contact with Noller or whether Noller lost the rear end himself. We've seen Noller actually, you mentioned it, Kyle, a lot before, that as we see, is that Cadillac? Yes, it is Cadillac trying to get round Fitzgerald. That is for 6th place. Fitzgerald is crawling around here. I believe he is giving the position back to Noller. If so, great sportsmanship on your behalf. But
Noller's going
his car is all over the place. Fitzgerald may drive it on because Noller, I would suspect, is going into pit lane. But Kyle, you made a point on the last lap about Noller getting very loose at the rear end, going up into that section. So could still potentially be an issue on Noller's side, but it did look to me as though Fitzgerald made contact with Noller's rear.
It'll be interesting to see what happens now with Jack Noller, if he is going to pit or not. But I definitely think he's going to be taking that car to the pits. The front end of it doesn't look to be tracking in the correct direction. So Fitzgerald has dropped himself down into 6th place now. It looks like he's sped up again and resumed his pace, because just behind him was the Aston Martin Petite. So Fitzgerald losing a place to Kettler, dropping himself back down to 6th place, but unfortunately ending Jack Noller's hopes of a top 10 finish here at Bathurst. He is heading to the pits. But I must give some credit to Fitzgerald for waiting for Noller. He is still trying to wait. He's actually lost the position to Petite now as well. So he's still trying to wait for Noller, and unfortunately Noller has gone into the pits. I wonder if Fitzgerald is actually going to wait the length of that pit stop for Noller and actually give him the entire place back. So a great sportsmanship there from Fitzgerald. I doubt that contact with Noller was intentional, if there was any, and he just wants to redeem himself and give that position back. And it is a testament to the drivers we have in SimGrid. They are here to have a bit of fun in GT4 madness. It's not a championship event, but even in championship events and other events we've held, we see that sportsmanship throughout, and it is good to see, and it is just testament to the community that SimGrid has created. On board now is Shermatinsky, trying to move his way back up past Martin. He was ahead of this group of 4. It's now only a group of 2. He's looking for a way past the Martin. Martin's not going to have the top speed with that damage on the front of the Aston Martin. He's going to try and go around the outside. This is Ivan. It's going to be a long way around for him, though. He allows the Aston to go through, and he will fight it another corner.
Yeah, great delivery on that yellow Mercedes, but he's really pressuring Josh Martin. We've seen Josh Martin having damage. We don't know where exactly it was that he crashed, but he is still trying to limp home. And of course, he's gained 2 positions from that Fitzgerald Noller position. But Shermanesky, a bit of flopping from that bonnet. He has damaged himself. So these 2 guards being limped home, but unfortunately, this is the problem with GT racing and with racing in SimGrid. Even when you're limping home, you're still going to be put under pressure. As we see, that must be a steward's decision. Fitzgerald has been given a 15-second time penalty for that incident. So it looks as though Fitzgerald has been deemed as the cause of that accident. But as you said, Kyle, it doesn't seem like there was any maliciousness or even any. You see a lot of brain dead maneuvers in racing in general, but that was just very unfortunate. There was no really where to go. He did outbreak himself a little, but again, it was
down the inside goes the Mercedes. The Mercedes down the inside now from Ivan on Martin. It looks like the move is done and dusted. Martin pulling back to the back end of the Mercedes. How close was that to him turning that car around? And how confident do you have to be in the size of your vehicle to get that done? He gets the run out,
wow,
and he's got him back. What a great move from Josh Martin, pulling back in behind the Mercedes-Benz to get the run out of that section and get it back before the final corner. Great move there from Josh Martin.
Yeah, fantastic. Great racecraft there. Great awareness, recognizing Shermanesky going wide and him doing the cutback. That's what we've come to see with Josh Martin. Really is a class act in terms of his racecraft. But back at the sharp end, 1.7 from Matushka to Civilotti. So keep an eye on that gap there. Last lap time was a 2:12.4. His best was a 2:12.3. So he is really trying to put the pressure on Civilotti. Murray, for all his pressure that he's had, now has a 15-second gap to Catalan and fifth. So that incident between that was Noller and Festerall, that incident has really helped Murray consolidate that fourth position. But back at the sharp end, we have these two, P2, P3. We've still these guys going at it, hammer and tongs.
12th and 13th place, the Mercedes-Benz and the Aston Martin. This shot as they head up through here and start heading up towards the second rise. How hectic is that sun? I got to give ACC some credit for the amount of work they put in here, because even that sunset, watch here it is here, as they head through this long left, you can barely see anything. I mean, the realism in that is absolute. Whoa, and as I said, he almost runs into the back of the Aston Martin because he just can't see it. One mistake through the left-hander and it ruins this whole segment. So unfortunately, just losing these two, and in the wall as well. So that mistake started into the first part of that segment, and it just compounds itself throughout that left, right combo, and he's lost the run. He would have had an Aston Martin down the straight, but we know that Aston Martin's ailing in a straight line, maybe a little bit more so than the Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah, Martin will be able to see if he'll be able to do any of the heroics he did in the last lap. Shermanetsky really is pushing. Martin does go to the defensive line, blocks that inside line, but not enough. And there's contact. He's on the grass. There's still more contact, and he has shoved Martin onto the grass. Shermanetsky has spun. Martin has kept control of his car for now. Yes, he has, and he has maintained. It's difficult. I don't think Martin will actually have to give any time back, saying he was forced onto the grass there. As he gets a little sideways there, probably with his heart rate still doing about 200 beats per minute. But a mistake there for Shermanetsky, surely with 3 minutes to go, puts him out of that contention for that 12th position.
Josh Martin obviously spending a little bit of time in dirt to rallycross there, because to hang on to that all the way through that right hand of the cross was quite talented, considering he was facing the opposite direction as he went in, and somehow got the car to turn and went all the way over the grass back onto the track without any errors. So great driving there from Martin. On board now with our race leader for the first time this entire race. I think I saw him on the first 2 laps, and I haven't seen him since. It's Jacob Charcot, currently leading in the AMG Motorsports car, and not running a livery and not running a team name. So just grabbed the car he could and went racing. But this is the battle you want to see. It's the battle for second place. It's Wolf Matushka chasing down Civilotti. It was 1.5 or 1.2 seconds. It's down to 0.9. So this battle is going to run to the dying stages of this race.
Yeah, and he will have 2 more laps to do it. This lap and another one. So Wolf, he's closing him down. He made that mistake earlier into that BP wall, I think we'll call it. He made that mistake earlier, and now he's regrouped fantastically to get back onto Civilotti's case. It's less than a second now. It is less than a second, so Civilotti is going to be put under the most immense of pressure in these last 2 laps. But he withstood the pressure for about 30-40 minutes of Matushka's, so he should hopefully, for Civilotti, be able to do that again for the last 2 laps.
As the great Murray Walker once said, it's one thing to catch, it's another thing entirely to pass, I think was his exact words. So it'll be interesting to see. He still runs so close to that wall. Playing with fire, Wolf. Playing with fire. No, we've lost Connall there. He's actually just muted for a second. So it's just me for the little bit now with Connall unfortunately having to mute his mic. And it's oh, there he is. Hello,
I'm back.
Connall.
Sorry, I don't think anyone on the broadcast wanted to hear me sneezing. But 17 finishers, it looks as though it's going to be, unless there's some last lap antics. So, Michael, can I confirm how many people we had at the start of the race?
Big damage on Kitzler. Big
30?
damage on Kitzler.
So 30 started. So it just
Oh,
shows that
Kettler's going to lose.
Keller's
Mr.
lost his
Vincent.
position to Urbic. And Urbic, the guy who we were worried about in these closing stages of the race due to his tire life, has actually made these positions up. He was sitting in 11th or 12th. He is now up to 7th. Fantastic driving from Urbic. Really well done in that McLaren. But yeah, I think Bathurst has claimed many, many victims today. Even the guys you see there still running, Boardman and Noller, these guys have had their own for sure of incidents.
We're heading into the last lap now, and the gap is now down to 0.5 of a second between Wolf Matuszka and Civolotti. It looks like Wolf's going to be all over the back of Civolotti on this final lap, and definitely into the far. He's run wide. He's run wide into turn 1, and all that hard work has gone to waste. He's lost almost 0.2 of a second on the exit there. It's going to be even more as they head up the hill now towards turn 2. That gap is just going to grow and grow and grow as he watched that red and white Mercedes-Benz drive away from a straight line. But he has been good through the mountain. It'll be interesting to see if he can close that back up. Last lap of this 1 hour race, and it's still a battle for second and third. But out in the front is Charcot, almost 16 seconds clear of this battle.
Yeah, you would think Wolf, if he can catch up, which it doesn't look likely now, as he is struggling to keep on with Civolotti. You would suspect he only has 2 possible passing opportunities, the chicane after the Connall straight and the last corner, but that all depends on whether he can close 9/10 on Civolotti now in under half a lap, which doesn't seem likely. Civolotti has been clinical so far in his defensive second position. Fantastic driving from Civolotti. We've seen these two guys battling from the very first lap. As you see, Wolf very, very wide there. That has surely wrecked his chances. Now, Civolotti will have seen that and knows all he has to do is be mistake-free for another half a lap, and he has that P2. But we're on board now with the leader. Did we see him? Do we know this guy? Oh yeah, sure. He's been the guy who's been leading for 27 laps. He's been dominating. He's been out of sight, out of mind, Sharkov, for most of these drivers. Fantastic driving from this guy.
Yeah, he's got one more corner to do here for the 27th and last time. It's a Charcot going to come across the line as a race winner here at the GT4 Madness. 1 hour of racing, and he crosses the line with a massive gap of over 16 seconds ahead of our second place driver, Civolotti. Great racing from him to hold off the charges of Wolf Matuszka. Unfortunately, Wolf making a couple of mistakes at the end there, unable to catch this man. Civolotti gives us a little weave across the line, coming home in second place. Third will go to Wolf Matuszka, and fourth, the first of the non-Mercedes-Benz, will be Marco Moore, the Red Bull of this GT4 race. Comes across the line in fourth place from GTWR Racing Team, and fifth placed Petit will be coming across in fifth. The of the top 5, Michael giving me a little bit of a heads up. The Matuszka is the only one that's driven with the sim grid before, so a lot of new drivers joining the sim grid. They've obviously been watching our stream, listening to myself and Connall ramper on and rage on about how great this racing is, and they've decided to join us. And Vincent Urbrick, we were worried about how this McLaren's going to go on the tires. Clearly, it doesn't have any issues with tire wear, as he brings it home in 6th place from PCDC Motorsports, and Giorgio Cornacchia in 7th. Scott Muscat comes across in 8th. Brow, after all those issues and all those problems, manages to come across inside the top 10 and 9th. Josh Martin limps home in 10th, ahead of Shevchenko. He was last at the end of lap 1, and he brings his car home with a little bit of damage and a little bit slowly for 10th. Oh, he's lost it on the last corner. Oh, my. What a save. Stop it, Josh. Behave. Ivan Shevchenko comes across in 11th place. Tanton will come. No one else will come across the line. Only 11 cars finished. That is absolute madness, Connall. And that's why it's called GT4 Madness.
Yeah, so if we're doing the maths here, 11 cars finished out of 30 in 1 hour of Bathurst. So our 12-hour of Bathurst presentation, we should have no cars circulating by about the 2nd hour. So we will have 10 hours to fill, Kyle. on our own with no action. So we better do some facts about the local area around Bathurst to fill the 10 hours. We could show the parks, the crowd, the lovely nature and the wildlife around, because this has been a race of attrition. So I really worry for the 12 hours. It's going to be very, very interesting indeed. But interesting to note about those new drivers really making an impact. And you will know the established heads of SimGrid will be watching this, and will be watching what you would suspect is their new opposition with a slight bit of trepidation.
A little bit of concern for them. Yeah, I reckon for the 12 hour, we're going to give them bicycles. They can ride bicycles around for 12 hours, because clearly giving them motor vehicles is a bad idea. So either we're going to make the walls out of marshmallow, or we're going to give them some bicycles. But I think they drive a bit differently in 1 hour than they do in 12, and especially in GT4s more so than in GT3s. We do see them go absolutely mad in the GT4s, and that's why we call them the GT4 madness. I'm sure it's something that Michael's going to set up for the other Thursday night races when we don't have leagues. I'm sure there'll be more GT4 mess happening. But just a quick touch, Michael. Are we going to? Yeah, we've got some interviews there. Nola and Martin are waiting for us to interview them. So let's kick over to our interview channel. Joining us now is Josh Martin and Nola, both Brits. So thank you for joining us, Josh. Great drive there from the back of the field to finish inside the top 10.
Cheers, buddy. Yeah, it was definitely 60 minutes of madness, that's for sure.
Yeah, race of attrition. Connall saying, well, there's only 11 that finished in an hour. So in 2 hours of the 12 hour, we'll have no more cars to talk about.
Yeah, it was a bit of a shame to see so many people drop out from that. But it was good racing right through the field, I think.
Josh, when you had your incident, you just briefly explain why you ended up last on lap 1.
My force feedback wasn't quite correct, so I had to stop the car to get that fixed, and then just didn't make it back up to the end of the training time.
So not a great start to your race. Did you really think that P11 would be possible?
Not really. I think when I was looking at the pace, particularly over the first couple of laps, everyone was lapping very quickly and very consistently. But thankfully, he was just able to keep plugging away, stay focused, and we got the result in the end. So.
And you've seen the Mercedes dominance. How did you feel in your car, and what do you feel were the different strengths and weaknesses in comparison to the Mercedes to your Aston?
Yeah, I think the Aston is quite good on the brakes compared to the Mercedes. Definitely in the straight line, obviously the Mercedes had a lot of advantage, but particularly towards the end of the race, I was able to kind of hold people behind, which was quite nice. I've been doing a lot of work with James and the Coach Dave Academy guys, giving me some coaching there, so that's been really beneficial in terms of helping me understand how to position my car correctly around a circuit like this.
Yeah, no, your defensive driving was something to behold at some stages. That move that you pulled, I think it was Ivan Shermanisky to run in behind him early on, give up their position early on, and then get the drive out to get the move done into the final corner was something out of, I'm sure, Coach Dave's karting handbook. It definitely looked like something he's done to me before in the real world. And your rallycross was also quite interesting and good on you. Great save there. But a question for you there, mate. Has the Mercedes-Benz GT4 cars, have they been spending some time with Lewis Hamilton and Bottas, that they're that quick, or is it just at the circuit?
Well, I might be the wrong person to ask, because I changed to this car this morning after looking at practice sessions. So, yeah, I've been used to the Mercedes and the only track I've driven it at, so I can't really comment on where it is on the other tracks.
But in terms of where it is here, where did you think your main advantage was here at Bathurst?
Well, obviously the straight line in the gearing was basically perfect because you were topping out right at the end of Connall, I believe it is. And generally, I think it just has a nice amount of definitely top speed, but just mid-corner grip that you could carry the speed over the mountain, where I just couldn't when I was driving the Aston or, say, the McLaren.
Jack, the incident between yourself and Feasterall, regrouping from that, how was the damage in your car and how were you able to bring it back? Because we've seen a lot of damage being forced to pit Is that some information that you can bring? I don't know if you are hopefully you are, because you're one of our favorites to watch. But if you're doing the 12-hour Bathurst, is that information you can bring to maybe extended endurance races so you can actually bring a car home in that state?
Yeah, I was funny enough practicing my 180s before this, so it came in a little bit useful there. Yes, there was a requirement to pit for my car. The game insisted you pitted within a few laps, and yes, also I am doing the World Series around here, so I've got a team for that. Yeah, it's just when you get that damage, you have to take it easy and maybe not drive as fast as the car can go, but make sure you get it back.
Yeah, well,
shame.
we've seen your fantastic battles with Feasterall and the like. Going forward, do you think there may be a different strategy in place, or at least different, setups, and your approach to the race might be different in the World Cup, given the the length of the race?
Yeah, I've already been over the last few weeks working on setups, safe setups, aggressives. So definitely a lot more time being spent on that, and got to thank my team for helping considerably a lot with that. So yeah, a lot more preparations going into the sprint racing, endurance racing, and World Series, and has gone into say today.
Yeah, Nola, a great drive from you throughout the race. I mean, it was a massive battle between you and Fisterol. Shame, poor Fisterol waited for you for I think it was 2 laps to give you the position back. But no hard feelings there, I'm assuming.
No, it's just a shame at the end of the race that happens. Obviously, no hard feelings. You move on to the next one. Luckily, this wasn't a start of a championship, so it was a one-off event. So yeah, shame at the end. Was driving really well and right at the top. So good to move on, and good to move on for Saturday's the next event.
Well, awesome, guys. With some great racing as always from the sim grid, and it was awesome to watch you guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you at the next one.
See you at the next one. Cheers.
Well, I really look forward to speaking to this guy, especially Wolf. Are you there?
Test. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. Wolf, fantastic racing. That was a close one between yourself and Civilotti. And we've seen you behind Civilotti for pretty much the whole of the race. Was it a plan to sit behind and maybe wait until the last tenth of the race to make a pass?
Well, definitely not. I was trying hard to, stay with him. I wasn't quite sure how my pace was since I haven't really done any practice today either. So, yeah, since qualifying wasn't that good, I finished, only P3 and, half a second behind P1. I think I could have been P2 myself. So I was planning to get by pretty early, and you might have seen on P1 we had a little bit of contact here and there, and made sure that the other guy knows that we're going to be racing together all race. But yeah, good fun. I was happy to be able to stay with him for the entire time, and after a while I was noticing that I just had more pace, but trying to get past is pretty much impossible because you top out long before the braking zone coming down the mountain, so you cannot really get past the guy in front because you're just both in the limiter, and that's really why I couldn't really do any moves. And unfortunate, but yeah, good racing. I'm sweating now.
I would say so, Wolf. And we've seen, obviously, you had a couple of near misses in that where you eventually had your big accident. Going forward, it seemed as though you took a few laps and then was able to regroup. Was there any significant damage that you were having to deal with?
Surprisingly, not at all. When I hit that wall, there was just a small, second of a delay in my brain at that turn, and it turned out to be the wall in front and not the clear track. So just a mistake on my side. And what I usually do after an impact like that is just take it easy for 1 or 2 laps at least to check the car. You don't want to bin it at the next turn due to a faulty car. I was just checking everything, and then being able to come back on pace was good.
Yeah, Wolf, it was it was unfortunate to see you make that error. We were hoping to see you guys race it to the end, and then the last couple of laps you looked to put on some pace and start catching up again. But unfortunately, pushing too hard into the final corner of the final lap, and that kind of spelt the end of your race. And a podium, the third place was the best you're going to get. But moving forward from this race, from Bathurst, we've got the World Series coming out. We know that you've got some great drivers in your camp in terms of your team in the BWT liveried Audis.
Yeah.
How's your preparation going for the Suzuka round?
Honestly, we haven't really done any preparation yet. We had a big 12-hour Suzuka race earlier this year. The same team lineup as well. So we have done a lot of laps around that track. It's just been a while, and yeah, we're gonna get to go ahead and plan everything and get the practice done. But we have other races coming up before that, so yeah, it'll take a while before we actually go on track in Japan.
No, I'm very much looking forward to that bright pink liveried car, and hoping to see a lot of it for 10 hours. I mean, Civilotti had to stare at it for a full good hour in his mirror. I'm sure it's very uncomfortable for him. But great drive from you, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you very much. See you guys.
We've still got Aiden Bao, the ace. How can we aid you?
I don't know. You tell me.
Good answer. It's awesome. You had awesome race from you. I mean, you had battles throughout, and a lot of recoveries and a lot of catches, and some good 180s to get yourself back in the race. Did you find the madness enjoyable?
Oh yeah, really enjoyable. Yeah, especially the opening few laps as well, where there's just cars everywhere. That's always the best bit of Bathurst, really, is trying to survive them opening few laps and come out the other side and see where you shake out, to be honest. But yeah, a couple of battles throughout the mid like part of the race as well, with the McLaren and the Merc behind me as well, and a few little silly errors. I think I could have been a bit further up the road had I not made a silly error into turn 2. I was too busy talking to my chat, and then missed my braking point into turn 2, which I then clobbered the curb as well and had a full-on massive moment and somehow caught it and kept it out of the wall. So just happy to recover, really, to be honest, to where I did, and a few dropouts near the end of the race made it a bit more, the result look a bit better than it was.
Well, as I said, we've seen with Bathurst that really until the checker flag hits, anything can happen. How did you find the Audi in that race?
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, straight line speed wasn't too bad. I'm surprised that it kept with... so the Mercedes that was behind me never really got that good of a run onto... Like, even if he got a good run out the first couple of corners or onto any straight, really, if he was about 3/10 back, he still wasn't able to really make a move, even in the toe. So I don't know whether he had damage or something like that from earlier on. I don't think he did, though. So it was interesting to see the Audi fully trimmed out for speed, that it kept up pace, but it's quite a handful on the brakes, I'll be honest, into certain corners. Heavy braking zone, it's not too bad. I didn't realise it only had one setting, so on or off basically, and I ran with it on, and it's a bit of a handful into the elbow, so that's where I was making most mistakes. But you just have to try and brake, get your braking done nice and early, and get the car rotated as early as you can. But to be honest, the car's not bad at all. It's really quite an enjoyable car to drive, really.
Yeah, very interesting insight there. Myself and Kyle aren't asking you questions about the car for the purposes of the broadcast. We're actually asking them for selfish reasons. We're all noting this information down, and we're going to try and use this to our advantage whenever we go racing. But even when you're following a car around Bathurst, when you're following a GT4, how difficult is it in comparison to a GT3?
Definitely not as hard. You don't get as much front washout at all, pick up as much understeer, just because obviously the aerodynamics are a lot less, so there's less wake flying off the back. So the McLaren I noticed was really good. It sort of struggled up the mountain, but then coming down the mountain, it was really fast. So for me, it was to try and stay as close as I could over the mountain to get a good run, because it was a bit slower on the straights. So it's that trade-off between, you've got to almost learn what other cars are good at doing and what they're bad at doing, and use it to your advantage if you can. But as for following, yeah, it's a lot easier than a GT3, I would say, and But at the same time, around Bathurst, it's one of them like you need a good, nice, clean line of sight into the next few corners. So if you're really close, it can sometimes throw you off a little bit because it's only tiny little lifts or tiny little dabs of the brake over the mountain, other than the major as you go over Skyline. So yeah, good to follow, really. Good, really enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, it must be even worse when you come up the mountain and you got the sunrise beaming into your eyes. I mean, that must have been absolutely hair-raising through there, especially when you were close behind another driver. But to listen to your responses and to your technical responses to what we actually are asking you, we're talking about a simulator. We're not talking about a real race experience. But Kuno's done so well with ACC to keep it so realistic and so close that we can have these conversations about a sim race.
Yeah, it's brilliant to see, really. I mean, sim racing's come a long way. I mean, I started a good few years ago, way back when on Project Cars 1, and at the time that was absolutely brilliant fun. But obviously it lacked quite a lot of physics-based side of things. But since then it's come a long way, and these guys, Kunos, have really nailed, especially the GT4 pack. For me, I really do enjoy them. I probably enjoy them more than a GT3 car now, because they're just a bit nicer and a bit more forgiving when you're driving them on the limit, so you can just throw them around, as you probably saw plenty of times, touching the walls, having a bit of a slide on. And I find them more enjoyable. I know some people prefer the GT3 still, but yeah, as a whole package, there's still areas of improvement, obviously, but as a whole package, ACC's right up there with the best, definitely.
Well, Aidan, thanks for aiding us with that information. And I think
No
think having a chat with you, we could probably do a podcast based on simulators and what you're doing. So thanks for joining us, and hopefully we see you at more Sim Good races.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me.
No, our pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your evening, Aidan. Thanks so much, man.
And you.
Right, so I think that brings to a close our GT4 madness, our 1 hour of Bathurst, and our death to GT4s, apparently. Only 11 people made it out of that war, and unfortunately casualties were high, but we'll see them all again next week for some more Thursday night racing, and obviously our leagues continuing out throughout this week, and the big one on the 22nd with at Suzuka, the 10 hour at the start of the World Cup. Qualifying has been crazy. We've got drivers running very, very close together. I think the top 20, the bottom 20 just before cutoff, very, very close. I think only 0.3 or 0.4 separate that on an average lap time. So it stands to be a great race or a great series. But that brings to a close this event, the SimGrid Thursday night event. We've got the 3 hours of Silverstone coming up on Saturday, and that will be held. I think it starts at 2:30 p.m. So stay tuned to our YouTube channel. You'll be able to catch some of that stream. Unfortunately, I am unavailable for that. We have some real world racing to do, but you'll have Connall and Chaz bringing you throughout the entire event, and with SimGrid and Coach Dave Academy. But Connall, what an awesome night of GT4 madness, and I can't wait to see some more.
Yeah, as always, the GT4s have provided some excellent action. I mean, we just get these guys here, and there's no thoughts about a championship, no thoughts about having to maintain points taken. It is all just attack, and we've seen that. Maybe not the best mentality to have at Bathurst, given the lack of finishers and the amount of incidents. But yeah, as always, fantastic racing, and we're going to have it again on Saturday. 3 hours of Silverstone. Silverstone is a track that's very dear to my heart, so I cannot wait.
Yeah, absolutely awesome. But as always, thank you so much for joining me, Connall. I've been your commentator tonight, Carl Lawrence. But thanks again to Michael Hamlet and the rest of the boys in the background here at the SimGrid. Again, another professional and a wonderfully put together production, and we look forward to seeing more.